Thank you very much. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Prayut of Thailand and Mrs. Prayut. This is a very great honor for us. We've had a long and very storied history with Thailand. In fact, we were just mentioning that Andrew Jackson, who is on the wall, was the president when we first developed the big relationship. So we have a very strong relationship right now as of this moment, and it's getting stronger in the last 9 months. We've done a lot of things together, and it is a tremendous, it's really very good to have you with us. This has been a rough day for us because of what took place in Las Vegas, but this was a long scheduled meeting, and it is a great honor. Thank you very much.
ก็ในนามของนายกรัฐมนตรีแห่งประเทศไทยนะครับประชาชนคนไทยก็รู้สึกยินดีและเป็นเกียรติที่ได้มาพบกับท่านประธานาธิบดีและสุภาพสตรีหมายเลข 1ของทางอเมริกานะครับ
As the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand and on behalf of the people of Thailand, I am very delighted and it is a great honor for me to be here to meet Mr. President and of course with the First Lady.
สำหรับความสัมพันธ์ของเราระหว่างกันนั้นมีมายาวนานนะครับท่านประธานกล่าวไปแล้วแต่สิ่งที่ผมอยากจะกล่าวถึงลำดับแรกคือการแสดงความเสียใจนะครับอย่างสุดซึ้งกับเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นเมื่อคืนนี้กับในเรื่องของพายุเฮอริเคนนะครับแต่ผมก็เชื่อมั่นว่าภายใต้การนำพาของท่านประธานาธิบดีนั้นก็จะสามารถนำสิ่งต่างนั้นผ่านพ้นไปได้ด้วยดีด้วยเวลารวดเร็วครับ
Mr. President has mentioned about the relationship between our two countries. We are long-standing allies, of course, but would like to take this opportunity to express my condolences to those victims and family of the shooting incident in Las Vegas last night, and I wish to express our solidarity with the American people. Moreover, I also would like to express my condolences to those victims and their family in the U.S. and in Puerto Rico who are affected by hurricane. The government of the top Thailand and our private sectors have also prayed for financial assistance. We wish that all the best for all success to Mr. President to tackle all these problems.
สำหรับวันนี้การมาพบในวันนี้นะครับก็คงจะหารือกันในหลายประเด็นด้วยกันโดยเฉพาะยิ่งประเด็นของความมั่นคงทางภัยคุกคามรูปแบบใหม่รูปแบบเก่าและรูปแบบใหม่นะครับแล้วในประเด็นของในเรื่องของประเด็นของที่เป็นความสำคัญในภูมิภาคนะครับแล้วก็ในเรื่องของการค้าการลงทุนนะการเพิ่มมูลค่าการค้าระหว่างกันแล้วก็เพิ่มความสัมพันธ์ที่เรามีต่อกันมายาวนานกว่า200 ปีนะครับอย่างตามประวัติศาสตร์และ184 ปีแห่งเป็นทางการนะครับผมก็เชื่อมั่นว่าภายใต้การนำพาของท่านประธานาธิบดีทรัมป์นะครับก็จะสานต่อความสัมพันธ์นี้กับร่วมไปกับผมนะครับแล้วก็ขอบคุณอีกครั้งหนึ่งในการสละเวลาให้ผมได้มีโอกาสพบกันในครั้งนี้นะครับนับว่าเป็นเกียรติอย่างยิ่ง
Coming to meet Mr. President today is a great opportunity for me and for the Thai government and the people of Thailand to work closely to further strengthen the cooperation between our two countries. We would, of course, enhance our security defense cooperation to help ensure that our citizens are safeguarded from terrorism and other threats. And of course, we will work closely in order to resolve the regional issue of concern. Of course, I am confident that with President's leadership, we will be able to tackle all those problems and work together in order to further strengthen the cooperation between our two countries, which we already mentioned that we have a long history of relationship, 200 years.
แล้วก็สุดท้ายก็อีกการก็ขอชื่นชมท่านสุภาพสตรีหมายเลข 1นะครับที่ได้ทำงานเพื่อสังคมในหลายๆสิ่งด้วยกันนะครับแล้วทั้งบุตรสาวด้วยนะครับประเทศไทยก็ยินดีนะครับที่จะให้ความร่วมมือในทุกๆด้านนะครับเพราะประเทศไทยให้ความสำคัญกับประชาชนทุกระดับเหมือนกันโดยเฉพาะยิ่งผู้ด้อยโอกาสผู้เข้าไม่ถึงต่างๆซึ่งเป็นนโยบายของท่านรัฐมนตรีอยู่แล้ว
I also would like to commend the First Lady on playing such a vital role in looking after those who have less opportunity. Of course, your daughter also worked very closely in order to tackle the problem. I know that she developed the interest to solve the issue of women and children. So therefore, Thailand stands ready to work closely with the First Lady and with Mr. President, of course.
That's very nice. I do want to say that our relationship on trade, and we've been negotiating very long and hard, and we're meeting with our representatives in a little while to go further, but our relationship on trade is becoming more and more important, and it's a great country to trade with. They make product, and different things that are really very important to us, and we likewise sell to you. I think we're going to try and sell a little bit more to you now, make that a little bit better if that's possible.
Yeah.
But we have a big, full period of time scheduled with our two staffs. Tomorrow morning early, I'll be leaving for Puerto Rico with the First Lady. We are going to be seeing all of the first responders, the military, FEMA, and frankly, most importantly, we're going to be seeing the people of Puerto Rico. We've been I think it's been amazing what's been done in a very short period of time on Puerto Rico. There's never been a piece of land that we've known that was so devastated. The bridges are down, the telecommunications was non-existent, and it's in very, very bad shape. The electrical grid, as you know, was totally destroyed. But we've gotten tremendous amounts of food and water and lots of other things, supplies, generally speaking, on the island. So we're going to be going tomorrow morning, first thing, very early. We're also going to be meeting with Governor Matt of the U.S. Virgin Islands. He's going to probably, because of the difficulty in getting into the Virgin Islands, he's probably going to meet us in Puerto Rico. And then, very importantly, also on Wednesday morning, very early, we're going to be leaving for Las Vegas, where we're going to be seeing the governor, who I just spoke to, the mayor, governor of the state, the mayor of Las Vegas, who I just spoke to, the sheriff, who has done such a great job. The police department has done such a fantastic job in terms of the speed, and we all very much appreciate it. So we'll be going to Puerto Rico tomorrow, and on Wednesday we will be going to, as you know, as I just said, we'll be going to Las Vegas on a very, very sad, it's a very sad moment for me, for everybody, no matter where you are, no matter what your thought process, this is a very, very sad day. So we're going to be doing that on Wednesday, and we'll be spending the full day there and maybe longer than that. So thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Our thoughts and prayers today are with the victims and survivors in Las Vegas and with the people of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, where massive storm recovery efforts are ongoing. The President will be flying to Puerto Rico tomorrow to view the devastation, and he will assure the people there that we are with them 100% today and for the long haul. Puerto Ricans have shown incredible resilience, and we are fully committed to helping them rebuild their lives. Last night, thousands of our fellow citizens endured what the President has rightly called an act of pure evil in Las Vegas. The President has ordered our flags to half-staff, and to further honor those lost in the attack, we will hold a moment of silence on the South Lawn this afternoon at 2:45 Eastern Time. The President will visit Las Vegas on Wednesday to grieve with the friends and family of the victims, to offer his support to those recovering from their wounds, and to thank the courageous first responders. In the coming days, this attack will directly impact communities all over our country, whose residents were visiting the entertainment capital of the world to attend a concert. One man, 29-year-old Sonny Melton, had traveled from Tennessee to Las Vegas for the concert with his wife, Heather. When the bullets began raining down from above, Sonny shielded her from danger, selflessly giving up his life to save hers. They'd been married for just over a year. Others risked their own lives to save people that they had never met. Mike McGarry of Philadelphia laid on top of students at the concert to protect them from the gunfire. They're 20, I'm 53, he said, and I've lived a good life. Lindsay Padgett and her fiancé, Mike J., fled for cover during the attack and immediately returned to the scene with their pickup truck to help transport the wounded to nearby hospitals. Gail Davis, who was attending the concert with her husband, said she owes her life to a brave police officer who instinctively served as a human shield, protecting her from harm. Sadly, multiple police officers, both on duty and off duty, were among those killed or injured. But what these people did for each other says far more about who we are as Americans than the cowardly acts of a killer ever could. The Gospel of John reminds us that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend. The memory of those who displayed the ultimate expression of love in the midst of an unimaginable act of hate will never fade. Their examples will serve as an eternal reminder that the American spirit cannot and will not ever be broken. In the days ahead, we will grieve as a nation, we will honor the memory of those lost as a nation, and we will come together, united as one nation, under God and indivisible. And with that, I'll take your questions. Major.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the President first learned about it and your engagement with him, his own personal reaction to the events of today.
He was
He also said in the Oval he might spend more than a day in Las Vegas. Was he referring to a couple of days there?
We're still finalizing the details of the travel that'll take place. We know for sure that he'll be there on Wednesday, and beyond that, we'll keep you guys posted as those arrangements are finalized. In terms of activity this morning, the president was briefed early this morning by General Kelly and has been updated regularly and constantly throughout the day, and will continue to as new information is provided by law enforcement officials.
Have you had a chance to talk to him about his own, how he dealt with this?
I have seen him today, and I think he, like most of America, is saddened, and certainly his heart and compassion goes out to those that were affected. Jeff?
Sarah, many times when these horrible massacres occur, it leads to questions about gun control. Has this particular massacre made the president think anything more about pursuing tighter gun laws, such as background checks, to prevent massacres like this from happening again?
Look, this is an unspeakable tragedy. Today is a day for consoling the survivors and mourning those we lost. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with all of those individuals. There's a time and place for a political debate, but now is the time to unite as a country. There's currently an open and ongoing law enforcement investigation. A motive is yet to be determined, and it would be premature for us to discuss policy when we don't fully know all the facts or what took place last night. Jeff?
To follow on that, Sarah, though, do you believe that, or does the president believe that this is a moment, that this is a time when this should not be a political discussion, it should be a policy discussion? Does he believe that he could bring something new to the gun debate that has been, I guess, locked in typical politics for so many years?
Yeah, I think today is more, again, like I said, a day of reflection, a day of mourning, a day of gratefulness for those that were saved. And I think that there will be certainly time for that policy discussion to take place, but that's not the place that we're in at this moment. But certainly I think that there's a time for that to happen.
If I could follow, before he was elected president in some 15 or 16 years ago, he did have a different view on guns than he had during the campaign. Does he believe that this is something that he could lead a bipartisan effort on at some point? And at what point would that be appropriate?
I think that's something that we can talk about in the coming days and see what that looks like moving forward. I think one of the things that we don't want to do is try to create laws that won't create or stop these types of things from happening. I think if you look to Chicago, where you had over 4,000 victims of gun-related crimes last year, they have the strictest gun laws in the country. That certainly hasn't helped there. So I think we have to, when that time comes for those conversations to take place, then I think we need to look at things that may actually have that real impact. Matthew.
Thanks, Sarah. On Puerto Rico, can you tell us a little bit about the president's aims for his visit tomorrow, and do you expect any tension given some of his comments over the weekend?
We have several stops that we'll put out later this afternoon in terms of the specifics of that trip. We are going to be spending significant time there in Puerto Rico, meeting both with first responders as well as the storm survivors, and we'll again put out the details of that exact schedule later today.
Some of his comments over the weekend, like that folks down there wanted everything done for them, do you expect that to come up in any of his conversations?
I expect the focus to be on the recovery efforts, which we're fully committed to. The top priority for the federal government is certainly to protect the lives and the safety of those in affected areas and provide life-sustaining services as we work together to rebuild their lives. That's going to be the focus, not just in the conversations tomorrow, but certainly the focus that we've had since this began. Celia.
I just pick up on that. Who exactly wants everything done for them? Who said they?
I haven't talked to him specifically about a defined of who they might be. Again, the federal government is doing everything within our powers and capabilities to first focus on the life-sustaining and life-saving measures, as well as on the rebuilding process. We've got over 12,000 federal staff on the ground. 64 hospitals out of 67 are partially or fully operational. 14 are now back on the electrical grid. 45% of customers in Puerto Rico have access to drinking water. 8 commercial airports are operational. 65% of gas stations are open. All of these things are things that we're continuing to push, continuing to move forward, and will be part of that effort. John?
Today's tragedy really quickly, if I may. Does the president believe that what happened amounts to an act of domestic terrorism?
Again, we're still in a fact-finding mission. This is an ongoing investigation, and it would be premature to weigh in on something like that before we have any more facts, and we'll leave that to local law enforcement to work with also the federal law enforcement to make those determinations. John?
Over the weekend, as was pointed out, the president was very sharply critical of Carmen Yulín Cruz, who's the mayor of San Juan. Other than her comments on Friday morning, in which she criticized Elaine Duke for saying this was a good news story in terms of DHS getting supplies out to areas that they were needed, what was she doing that prompted such criticism from the president?
Look, right now our focus is to bring the mayor into the coordination efforts. This administration, as well as other members on the ground, have reached out to her. We hope that she will join with us in those efforts and be part of things. She's been invited to participate in the events tomorrow as well, and we hope that those conversations will happen and we can all work together to move forward.
Sarah.
Ashley.
Is Tom Price reimbursed the government yet for his seat on those flights? And if not, is there a specific deadline when you and the president expect him to do so by?
I'm not sure on the time frame for that or whether or not it's already taken place, but we'll certainly keep you posted on that. Jordan.
Thank you, Sarah. Given what the president said about Secretary of State Tillerson's outreach to North Korea over the weekend, does the president still have confidence in him as Secretary of State?
He does, yes.
Have you spoken to him since those? Did he send out those tweets?
I believe so. I'll have to verify. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. It's a very sad day in this country, as you mentioned at the top, as the president said in his remarks. He said that when he goes out to Las Vegas, he's going to meet with first responders and, in addition to that, families of the victims that were impacted by this. What's the message to each of those groups when he goes out there?
Look, I think it's very simple to say that his goal is simply to be there to show the support of people from around the country and to stand united in not only this act of evil but against all acts of evil, and I think that was clear in the president's remarks today and something certainly that you'll see from his visit on Wednesday. Jessica.
Sarah, thank you. And following up on the tweets about the DPRK over the weekend, the president tweeted, "Save your energy, Rex. We'll do what has to be done." So is it the stated position of the White House that you're trying to get back to talks, or have you given up?
No, this is, we've been clear that now is not the time to talk. The only conversations that have taken place or that would be on bringing back Americans who have been detained like that with Otto. Those were the type of conversations that this administration was willing to have. Beyond that, there will be no conversations with North Korea at this time.
State talks about
there are 3 Americans still detained in North Korea.
Lines of communication with Pyongyang. That's what you're primarily using it for. You're not using it to try to get measure whether they're
that would
ready
be
to
the
talk.
only reason for us to have conversations with them at this time. Helen.
Sir, can I follow on that? I also want to ask about today, but does the president believe diplomacy then is not worth pursuing in North Korea?
There's a difference between talking and putting diplomatic pressure. We still strongly support putting diplomatic pressure on North Korea, which we're continuing to do, but now is not the time simply to have conversations with North Korea. We've encouraged all of our allies and partners to do more, and we're going to continue to keep all options on the table when it comes to that. Stephen?
The activities of today as well, you talked about how now is not the time to get into a gun control debate or to talk about policy. After the Orlando shooting, the president that day was out on Twitter talking about policy. He was talking about his travel ban. So when, for example, Senator Chris Murphy says it's time for Congress to get off its ass and do something, does the president agree?
I actually agree with them that Congress should get up and do something. I'm not sure that it's specific to that, but I think Congress has had several months of doing very little, and we'd like to see some actual legislation come through.
What would the president like to see Congress do is the question I want to get at.
Again, we haven't had the moment to have a deep dive on the policy part of that. We've been focused on the fact that we had a severe tragedy in our country. And this is a day of mourning, a time of bringing our country together, and that's been the focus of the administration this morning.
Orlando, though, Sarah, when at that day he was talking about the travel ban, saying he didn't want congratulations, essentially. Why is
There's
this
a difference
happening now?
between being a candidate and being the president.
I do want to ask, because before last night's massacre, a bill was advancing through the House. Republicans cleared it through the House Committee on Natural Resources that would, among other things, make it easier for people to buy silencers. Hillary Clinton tweeted about it this morning. She said that imagine the deaths in Las Vegas if the shooter had a silencer, which the NRA wants to make easier to get. Does the White House have a position on this particular piece of legislation?
Again, I haven't spoken with the president about that specific issue, but I don't think that that is something that would have changed. Again, I think before we start trying to talk about the preventions of what took place last night, we need to know more facts. And right now, we're simply not at that point. It's very easy for Mrs. Clinton to criticize and to come out, but I think we need to remember the only person with blood on their hands is that of the shooter, and this isn't a time for us to go after individuals or organizations. I think that we can have those policy conversations, but today is not that day. Luis?
Sarah, are there any policy prescriptions that the president considers to be out of bounds on the policy debate that will happen in the next few weeks? Could you articulate a little bit what his position on gun control is?
The president's been clear that he's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and I don't have anything further at this point. I'll take one more question. Fred?
Yeah, a couple of questions. One, ahead of the trip to Puerto Rico, Mark. Just wanted to ask about there's a bill in Congress, the McCain-Lee Act, which would give a permanent exemption to Puerto Rico from the Jones Act. Would the administration consider either a permanent repeal of the Jones Act or at least an exemption permanent for Puerto Rico or something?
I don't think that's something that's necessary at this time. If we deemed that it was, we could have that discussion then, but certainly something that we don't feel like is necessary today. So I wouldn't imagine that would be something needed.
Also, on the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett, I'm sorry. There's been some attacks among senators, some in the media, on her religious beliefs. Does the White House have some concerns about that?
We certainly support religious freedom and would ask that Congress also support that as well. As you all know, we've got a moment of silence taking place on the South Lawn here momentarily, and so with that I'll close and just again, I think we ask collectively that everyone across the country keep the people both in Las Vegas and in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands in our prayers. Thanks.
Thank you. My fellow Americans, we are joined together today in sadness, shock, and grief. Last night, a gunman opened fire on a large crowd at a country music concert in Las Vegas, Nevada. He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are working closely with local authorities to assist with the investigation, and they will provide updates as to the investigation and how it develops. I want to thank the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and all of the first responders for their courageous efforts and for helping to save the lives of so many. The speed with which they acted is miraculous and prevented further loss of life. To have found the shooter so quickly after the first shots were fired is something for which we will always be thankful and grateful. It shows what true professionalism is all about. Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss. To the families of the victims, we are praying for you and we are here for you. And we ask God to help see you through this very dark period. Scripture teaches us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. We seek comfort in those words, for we know that God lives in the hearts of those who grieve. To the wounded who are now recovering in hospitals, we are praying for your full and speedy recovery and pledge to you our support from this day forward. In memory of the fallen, I have directed that our great flag be flown at half-staff. I will be visiting Las Vegas on Wednesday to meet with law enforcement, first responders, and the families of the victims. In moments of tragedy and horror, America comes together as one, and it always has. We call upon the bonds that unite us, our faith, our family, and our shared values. We call upon the bonds of citizenship, the ties of community, and the comfort of our common humanity. Our unity cannot be shattered by evil. Our bonds cannot be broken by violence. And though we feel such great anger at the senseless murder of our fellow citizens, it is our love that defines us today and always will, forever. In times such as these, I know we are searching for some kind of meaning in the chaos, some kind of light in the darkness. The answers do not come easy. But we can take solace knowing that even the darkest space can be brightened by a single light, and even the most terrible despair can be illuminated by a single ray of hope. Melania and I are praying for every American who has been hurt, wounded, or lost the ones they love so dearly in this terrible, terrible attack. We pray for the entire nation to find unity and peace, and we pray for the day when evil is banished and the innocent are safe from hatred and from fear. May God bless the souls of the lives that are lost. May God give us the grace of healing, and may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you.